I first played Warhammer 40k Darktide back when it launched in 2022. For those curious on the lore, my first project my first ever full-time job on a long-dead website called The Loadout was to write a handful of guides on Darktide. I enjoyed my time with it, but I'm not going to beat around the bush. It was kind of shit. There wasn't much content, the loot grind sucked, and it ran horrendously, though that could have been more down to my poor GTX 970, which by that time was already 8 years old. Either way, it was a depressing 40k follow-up to Vermintide, which you should also play, but I refused to go on a tangent this early into a video. Almost 3 years later, just a few months ago, I decided to return to Darktide on a bit of a whim. This in itself proved to be quite a challenge though, as the game has seemingly disappeared from my Steam library. Like, it's just not there anymore. So I guess Gabe stole my copy to play it on his yacht deck. Sorry, Steam Deck.
Wait, is that Gabe?
Come on, not every dude with a beard.
Hi, this is Gabe.
Thankfully, the best deal in gaming, Xbox Game Pass, came in clutch. Big thanks to Big Phil for coming to the rescue. With a copy of the game secured, I jumped right in, once again starting as the veteran class. Given the veteran is basically a marksman, I won't lie, they're a bit boring. Shit, not really selling it so far, am I? Well, it turns out I'd come back at just the right time, as Fat Shark decided to celebrate my glorious return with a massive update just for me. This included a new class, an overhauled story mode and mission difficulties, and a few other important changes. And oh boy, is Darktide good now. Now, your first thought is probably, Rory, why the fuck have you made a video about the second best Horde shooter instead of the best one? And that's a good question. Firstly, I think calling something the second best is actually way more interesting than the best. It's like a clickbaity reverse clickbait. The real answer is frustratingly simple. I've been trying to write about the best Horde shooter for over 5 years now, but I just can't get the words right. So you'll have to settle for hearing about the second best instead. You're welcome. Oh, I realise I haven't actually said what the objective best Horde shooter is yet. Though I thought it was pretty obvious, it's Deep Rock Galactic. I'll be ignoring any heretics who say it's Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead, more like my brain was Left 4 Dead after playing it. Am I right? Funny joke. Don't worry, that's the only tangent in this video. Again, I haven't found the words to talk about Deep Rock Galactic in all these years, so it sure as shit isn't happening now. Otherwise, I'd do a funny smash cut into a completely different video, and all this would have been a masterful trick to waste your time. Warhammer 40k Darktide doesn't make any attempts to hide its top priority. No matter what mission you're playing, 99% of it is spent doing one thing: hacking people apart and blasting hordes. I can hear a horde coming right now, coming to tell me, duh, that's what horde shooters are, dumbass. And they're right, at least on paper. The bit about horde shooters, not about me being a dumbass, obviously. Because I'm not. My mum tells me I'm not constantly. While Left 4 Dead's levels are iconic, it's the combat that's always had me Left 4 wanting more. Did you see what I did there? You can tell I write for a living. But like Vermintide before it, Darktide has surprisingly deep melee and ranged combat, which you weave between almost constantly, that it's just fun, alright? It's just fun. Nothing feels better than trying to hold back a horde of infected with a shock baton and a shield, desperately shoving them back between heavy swings before having to swap to a shotgun pistol to take out a sniper lining up a killing blow while you're busy. Melee swings bash enemies about with force, and occasionally even turn one person into two, while gunshots stagger or drop enemies to the ground with a heavy thud. The guns are all unique and interesting enough, but they're also pretty self-explanatory. guns go bang with bonus damage for headshots, but the melee combat is much deeper than it looks. Of course, there's your usual light and heavy attacks, which dictate the speed, damage, and impact of your swings. But you can also aim for weak spots with melee weapons. Most of the time, this is the head, but it means that even when you're surrounded and you instinctively want to start flailing about, it pays to be precise. This is especially true when you start digging into each class's skill tree. For example, the Arbites has a perk that makes it so weak spot damage staggers an enemy, which you can then build around with other perks and gear bonuses. Plus, some elite enemies like Bulwarks and Chaos Spawns are much taller than normal enemies, so aiming for their heads means you're less likely to be cleaving away at the hordes gathering around you. You can also push enemies, which shoves them away from you at the cost of stamina, or dodge outright to avoid attacks. Managing hordes means managing your stamina and resources, especially on higher difficulties, but it's never too obtrusive to take away from the star of the show. How badass you feel! I'll talk more about it later when I get to the game's music. Yes, it does deserve its own segment, okay? But using all your tools to bring the chaos under control really makes you feel like one of the Emperor's chosen. We'll ignore the fact that you're actually a conscripted prisoner. It helps that most objectives and elite enemies in Darkwave require teamwork. My hater brain is activated the moment I realise a so-called co-op game doesn't actually make you work as a team. Just like Deep Rock Galactic, teamwork makes the dream work here on Atoma Prime. You're easily stunned out of some actions if you're attacked, like activating levers or carrying things for missions, so you need other players to rally around you like Pikmin. And then there's elite enemies like the Bulwark, whose shield makes them almost immune from the front, or mutants that grab you and launch you across the room, and possibly off the map, where you'll need your fat ass hauled up. Or there's the Poxhound that'll pounce on you and give you big kisses until someone gets them off. Not like that. My favourite, though, is the Scab Trapper, who can wrap you in a net and zap you to death, unless another player untangles you. The one exception is if you're playing the Arbites class, a religious zealot with the bestest boy by their side. There's also the Coherency system. It's literally just a passive aura that regenerates your armour when you're near teammates, but it adds another layer to builds as each class can bring something specific to the table on top of the standard armour regen. Plus, it encourages you to fight cheek to cheek with your fellow Imperial rejects, and there's nothing that will forge a bond faster than that. I'm not going to go on the internet and tell lies and say that Darkfly's missions are as iconic and memorable as they could be. I mean, I don't even know their names. But I'm always having fun no matter what one shows up when I randomly queue. While every mission is set on the gross hive city of Atoma Prime, which is the epitome of the grey colour palette area, which is the epitome of the grey colour palette area, which is the epitome of the grey colour palette era of the which is the epitome of the grey colour palette era of the mid-2000s. Sure, most locations are grey, grimy industrial areas, yet somehow the environments and gameplay feel distinct between missions. Some parts funnel you into tight corridors, giving you little room to play with when you're ambushed by a horde, let alone any elite enemies. Some areas are more open, making ranged enemies a pain. One objective sees you stuck in a smoky room where you can't see the enemies until they're already on top of you, while another encourages you to keep moving as chambers lock around you. It's what makes them perfect on your first run through and your 50th, which is the same spark that keeps games like Left 4 Dead and Deep Rock Galactic as popular as they are all these years later. I will point out though that you unlock missions and enemy types as you progress through the difficulties, so please don't limit yourself to the lowest levels. Look, come here. You're stronger than that, I promise. I believe in you. If there's anyone who can do it, it's you. What I love most about these environments, though, is just how immersive and oppressive they are. It's hard to find a second to breathe on Atoma Prime, but if you can, take a look around. These levels are big, much bigger than they really need to be, and each one is filled with nice details that paint a picture of what the place was like before we arrived to clean things up. Well, re-establish the Emperor's status quo, which was only marginally better by the looks of it. Delving into the underbelly of this hive city, it's impossible to ignore just how dire life must have been down here. Bins and rubbish everywhere, no natural life, nothing but towering metal structures as far as the eye can see. It's just layers upon layers upon layers of slums and industry built up over thousands of years, inhabited by people who have never felt the warm light of the sun, who had probably lost their minds well before the chaos took hold. As much as I enjoy Dimtide's cacophony of carnage, it's impossible to overstate how good the soundtrack is. I really shouldn't be surprised, as Dark Because the Lights Are Off Tide's music is created by the incredible Jesper Kid. Even if you don't know the name, you're sure to have had your ears blessed by his music before. He's behind almost the entire Assassin's Creed series' soundscape, making bangers like Ezio's Family and Valhalla's main theme alongside Sarah Schnashner and Ina Selvig. He made music for Borderlands games, which has a pretty underappreciated soundtrack in my humble, completely objective opinion. He's also responsible for some tracks in odd things like Forza Motorsport 4, State of Decay, and Hitman. Basically, he's amazing, and he absolutely cooked with Darkstream's soundtrack. I think what's most impressive is the way the music blends genres with, of all things, a heavy influence of folk and religious music, and heavy cyberpunk synth. This mix, which sounds horrible on paper, is really immersive. Tertium is a hive city. It's metal as far as the eyes can see, and everything's industrial. There's nothing here that's not purposeful. Nothing that's not contributing to the economy and raw survival of the planet and the Empire. And the music reflects this, with lots of beats made from sounds you'd likely hear on Tertium, like metal clanking in Disposal Unit. The repetitive banging in Imperial Advance that feels like a factory. What sounds like an alarm ringing in Immortal Imperium. But Tertium and the universe of Warhammer 40k is also incredibly religious, placing great significance on everything from the Imperium of Man to tech and weaponry.
The weapons you bear are not mere tools of war. Serving as their custodian offers fulfillment you do not deserve.
Of course, there's also the heretical forces that led to Tertium being overrun by Chaos's influence. This is where the folk aspects come in, both making you feel like you're fighting for something much larger than yourself, but also reminding you of the heretical Chaos legions you're facing off against. Much of the music features rhythms made with choirs and organs and intentionally repetitive chanting that gives such a religious undertone. Of course, it's also just incredibly badass and never fails to get me hyped, especially with all the battle chatter coming from your comrades. As a parting gift, don't worry, you don't know, you don't have to say thank you. You don't know what the present is yet. As a parting gift, I'll leave you with my favourite tracks. You're welcome. Hello, it is Rory. You can call me Rory. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the quick, very stupid video on Darktide. The moral of this video is play Darktide. It's free on Game Pass. It goes on sale for cheap. And I need the game to keep going so that I can have more Jesper Kid music. So yeah, that'd be really nice. Anyway, that's everything for this video, so I'll see you next time.